Chapter 1389. Towards this kind of poser, I must use the most terrifying technique to destroy him. Yihua's body instantly emitted out a sea of blood and appeared behind him. If one looked closely at this sea of blood, one would be able to see many figures struggling as if they were drowning. Suddenly, the sea of blood covered the fortune teller like a waterfall. Countless bloody hands seemed like they wanted to grab hold of this deceiving old man and torture him ruthlessly to let him know the consequences of deceiving others and acting cool. Following a muffled sound, the sea of blood swallowed the fortune teller. Yihua snorted coldly. That's all there is to it. If I get a bit more serious, you would be dead. To actually dare to play with a big sword in front of me and create such an illusion, you must be tired of living. After waiting for a few minutes, Yihua waved his hand and the sea of blood disappeared without a trace. But Yihua's gaze was filled with shock. Although this sea of blood wasn't a trump card, it was still the second last trump card. Even Wei Chong and the others wouldn't feel good from it. Look at this fortune teller, he is actually sitting cross-legged so calmly. Come over and have a chat, I don't have any ill intentions towards you. The fortune teller finally spoke. This kind of tone carried a bit of emptiness, as if he was someone who was in control of the world. Yihua had seen people who knew how to act cool, but the only one who could act so vividly was this fortune teller old man. All right. I want to hear what kind of nonsense you can come up with. Yihua walked a few steps forward and stood in front of the fortune teller. He looked down at this old man, and really wanted to break this old man's neck. Sit. Not sitting. All right. Yihua, what do you think about choices? The fortune teller asked lightly. Yihua's brows twitched and said indifferently, I always give others choices. Life and despair. Yes, what I hope to see is despair. That kind of expression can reflect a kind of essence. The fortune teller nodded his head. That's right, if you look at the expression of despair too many times, you will get addicted to it. That expression will give you a feeling of being at the top of the clouds. But Yihua, have you ever thought that you would also have such a day? Yihua went into a daze for a moment. Although he was laughing out loud, this might be the most insane laughter that Yihua had ever laughed out loud. However, his laughter was a bit strange, and it wasn't that kind of sarcasm. It seemed like he was laughing out of his own helplessness, or perhaps something else. Everyone is equal, the only difference lies in the difference in their own value. Yihua, you have top-notch abilities, a group of subordinates that are loyal to you, a wife and children, a complete family. The fortune teller paused for a moment, then continued. However, these are just one family, there are tens of thousands of families under the heavens. Before the fortune teller could finish speaking, Yihua asked coldly, You are the lobbyist that the guardian called over, right? Guardians have their own responsibilities. I just want to tell you one thing. In a world without people, what's the point of your existence? Perhaps you can survive, but in the end you will be alone. You gave others a choice in the past, but this time, I will give you a choice. Life or death, it's your choice. We'll never meet again. Wait for me. Speak clearly. Yihua roared. He wanted to stretch out his hand and grab onto that lump of nothingness, but no matter how hard he tried, he was unable to grab onto that lump of nothingness. Yihua, Yihua, Yihua. The anxious voice of Qingye and the others rang out beside Yihua's ears. Right when they came in, they saw that Yihua was acting strangely. Yihua was lying on the rocking chair while sweating profusely, and both of his hands were even trembling nonstop, as if he was having a nightmare. As expected, in the end, Yihua actually let out a strange cry. Yihua suddenly opened his eyes and subconsciously grabbed onto Qingye's wrist. Perhaps because he used a bit of strength, Qingye tightly wrinkled her brows, but she did not say anything. Capture that old man. Yihua shouted out coldly, and a drop of sweat flowed out from his forehead. This was the first time that Donghuang Baiji saw Yihua's expression like this. This is fear, fear, fear. Qingye was stupefied, and there was also Qing Yutong and Qian Yuqing who were at the side. Yihua's expression made them feel afraid. This kind of expression shouldn't appear on Yihua's face. Yihua, there's no old man, you had a nightmare just now. Qingye said tenderly as she lightly hugged onto Yihua. Right now, Yihua was gasping for breath, and he had also realized what had happened. Only after quite a while did he stabilize himself. All right, I indeed had a nightmare just now, Yihua said lightly, feeling a bit helpless. Qian Yuqing asked concernedly, Yihua, what kind of nightmare did you have? Yihua laughed lightly. You all ran away from home together. I am so angry that I want to break your legs. Go to hell. Qinya poked onto Yihua's head petulantly. Donghuang Baiji smiled. Let's go and eat. Yan'er and Shen'er's marriage is going to be decided soon. We just have to meet the other party's parents and choose a good date. Then we will be at ease. Yihua did not oppose and nodded his head. You all can decide, let's go and eat first. Since her husband had agreed to it, Qinya and the others were naturally happy, but they did not notice Yihua's abnormality. While eating, the family discussed about the marriage. As the people involved in the marriage, the 4 children were naturally very shy. They were actually about to step into the grave of marriage. Especially Chiyu, she felt as if she was dreaming. Just now, my mother even asked me if I want to marry Brother Yan, and I actually tacitly agreed to it in my heart. I was obviously acting. Lu Jing was also very gratified. The younger generation is going to get married and have children. This is truly a happy occasion. After the meal, Qinya and the others continued to stay behind and discuss about the details. Yihua did not participate in the discussion and returned to his bar, then sat at the bar counter and poured himself a cup of wine. Cigarettes and wine, these are truly things that men must have. Looking at the surroundings inch by inch, Yihua's thoughts couldn't help but float away. This fortune teller is actually letting me make a choice. I am such a selfish person. How can I possibly die for others? I, the Supreme Overlord, will never make a choice in my entire life. So what if there is no one else? It is fine as long as my family members are still around. All of you can go to hell. 1 month later. On this night, the stars were exceptionally bright. The entire Wushu Empire was decorated with lanterns and colored banners, and the atmosphere was festive. Because tomorrow was the wedding day of the 2 little sovereigns, the entire empire was going to celebrate together. Right now, Yihua was sitting in the imperial garden, listening to Qian Yuqing's zither skills, and beside him was his sister-in-law who was brewing tea. As for Qinya and Donghuang Baiji, they naturally still had a lot of things to prepare. After all, tomorrow was her son's wedding day, and as a mother, I definitely can't be careless. Brother-in-law, have some tea, the mischievous Qing Yutong said with a teasing tone. Yihua opened his eyes, then stretched out his hand and knocked onto Qing Yutong's forehead. The latter pouted her small mouth and acted cute. How old are you already, and yet you still have this kind of expression on your face? Yihua couldn't help but ridicule. I am 18, all right? Brother-in-law is so hateful. Qing Yutong used her small fist. After hearing that, Yihua laughed lightly, then took a deep breath. Chapter 1390. Brother-in-law, why do you look unhappy? Am I? Of course I am, look at your face. Yihua touched his face and said lightly, perhaps, I am too happy. Aya, now that Yan-er and Shen are married, Ali and Luer should hurry up too. Yihua didn't think so, they have high standards, it won't be that easy to find a man. That's right, as an aunt, I'm so worried. What are you worried about? Brother-in-law, you should go and rest early, there are still a lot of things to do tomorrow. The big shots from the north and south will all be coming, don't have a panda eye. Qing Yutong smiled lightly and couldn't help but stretch out her hand and caress Yihua's face. You two should rest early too, tomorrow is indeed a bit tiring. Qian Yuqing walked over slowly and draped the woolen coat over Yihua. Yihua, see you tomorrow. What, aren't the 2 of you going to serve me in bed? Yihua teased. Qian Yuqing said with a mischievous tone. There are a lot of things to do tomorrow, I have to preserve my strength. You two have a lot of things to do. Yihua knocked on the door and returned to his bedroom. After taking off his clothes, Yihua lied on the big bed. His face was still filled with worry. During this 1 month, he thought about a lot of things, but in the end he still didn't have a choice. After lying on the bed for an unknown amount of time, Yihua heard faint footsteps. You still haven't slept, I thought that you were asleep. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji walked in, and said while looking at Yihua who was lying on the bed. I was waiting for you too. How is the arrangement? It is all arranged properly. Your son is already married. Yet you are not helping him. You are spoiling him. Dong Huang Baiji said petulantly. You are really lazy to the extreme. Yi Hua said in disdain. Do you still need me to do this kind of thing? Then why would I marry a wife? Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji immediately became speechless, and they rolled their eyes. After washing up, the two leaned on Yi Hua's side and enjoyed the moment of peace. Tomorrow is really a big day, Yi Hua muttered. Yeah. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji were already very tired, and very quickly, they started breathing evenly. However, Yi Hua still couldn't fall asleep. Dawn dispelled the darkness, and Voidless Empire welcomed a brand new day. Towards the joyous occasion of the royal family, the citizens were all especially serious. Every single household had come out early to prepare, making it seem as if their sons were getting married. Inside the palace, everyone was also preparing. Honey, look at my collar. It doesn't seem to be symmetrical. Yihong frowned and pulled at her collar. Today, Zishan was exceptionally beautiful as well. However, right now, she wasn't that domineering anymore. If not, this husband of hers might go and risk his life in a fit of anger. Alright, there's something wrong with your eyes. Zishan tidied up Yihong's collar and said with a gentle smile. Yihong smiled foolishly, then hugged Zishan and kissed her. If it was in the past, Zishan would have definitely taught Yihong a lesson for kissing her without her consent. But right now, Zishan was completely acting like a little girl, and she was even shy. This made Yihong very happy. This was the rhythm. Hubby, come and take a look at me. In another palace, Li Hun shouted with a sweet voice. When Do Fusher heard this coquettish tone, his scalp went numb. Your husband has already gone offline. Hubby, if you continue to be like this, your wife is going to show off her might. Mom, I'm here. Right now Wei Chong was also looking at his own clothes. Xiao Tang, is it tidy? Tang Wei laughed tenderly. Uncle Wei, you're very handsome. You really know how to talk. Today is a big day, you cannot be careless. Got it, I will take note. Alright, let's go out, it's almost time. In Lai Gu's palace, Lai Gu shouted out anxiously, You women, when are you going to stop dressing up? Aren't we dressing up to give you face? Yu Hua rolled her eyes at Lai Gu. This idiot. Lai Gu held onto his forehead. Are you all trying to snatch the limelight from the bride? Hearing that, the four women felt that what Lai Gu said made sense. Why aren't you quickly going to take a shower? You are truly a prodigal woman. Right after Lai Gu finished speaking, he felt four murderous intents coming towards him. These women, I really cannot afford to offend them. Today Death Mage finally took off his black cloak and wore a set of clothes on the bed. However, it seemed a bit strange. Jijiji, Sinfang couldn't help but say, Darling, don't be a jiejier anymore. Today, go and look for his honor and ask his honor to bestow you with your vocal cords. Jijiji. Imperial translation. You go. Right now the entire group was in a harmonious mood. Even Yi Hua's side was the same. Yi Hua, hurry up and put on your clothes, don't be late. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji had already put on their clothes, but Yi Hua was still putting on his clothes unhurriedly. Yi Hua laughed lightly. You two go and do your things first, I will come over immediately. Hurry up then, don't joke around. Qingye couldn't help but remind. This fellow has been acting a bit like a child recently. Understood. After Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji left, Yi Hua took out a cigarette and lit it up, then started smoking silently. After finishing smoking the cigarette, Yi Hua took down the gorgeous golden emperor robe from the clothes rack. Looking at this golden and dazzling robe, Yi Hua felt that he didn't like it that much anymore. After wearing it for a day, I should wear it less in the future, it is too extravagant. After fastening the belt and hanging the accessories, Yi Hua looked at himself in the mirror. I am still so handsome. However, just when he was about to step out of the room, Yi Hua's expression tightened. The thing that I don't want to see the most still happened. It even happened at a time like this. Back then, Yi Hua gave Su Diao a piece of broken jade, and told him to look for him if he had any problems. I didn't expect that I would use it now. Right now Yi Hua was struggling, should I ignore, or? Yutong, go and take a look at your brother-in-law, why isn't he here yet? Qinya was a bit anxious as she said to her little sister. All right, I will go and take a look. Qin Yutong hurriedly came to the bedroom and opened the door to take a look. There wasn't a single person in the bedroom, and there was only a faint smell of cigarette. Where is he? It can't be that he is already over. Brother-in-law is really. Qin Yutong said helplessly, then hurriedly went back and told Qinya that brother-in-law wasn't in the room. Qinya, who knew of the situation, held onto her forehead. This Yihua, if you were to create any trouble for me today, see if I don't kill you. Where is Yihua right now? This place should be the center of the entire northern region, because it was said to be the North Pole. However, there wasn't any wind or snow here, and the temperature here was actually rather warm. Green trees surrounded this place, and the air was filled with clarity and despair. With a single glance, Yihua saw the 4 guardians, and 2 of them were already hanging down. Yihua tightly wrinkled his brows and walked over, then slowly squatted down and checked Xingtsong's pulse. Chapter 1391. Xingtsong has already sacrificed himself. Ping replied calmly. Yihua took a look at Ping, then turned his head around and looked towards Renyao. Right now, Renyao no longer had any signs of life, and Su Diao was currently in an extremely dangerous situation. What's going on? Yihua asked gravely, then planned to treat Su Diao. But Su Diao refused. No, it's useless. This is our fate. Ping raised her head and looked towards Yihua, and there seemed to be a glimmer of hope on Yihua's face that was filled with despair. I told you before, you are a good person. I am only here to take a look, Yihua said gravely. Speak, what exactly is going on? Perhaps, it is because you all are too weak, Yihua said faintly. However, just as Yihua finished speaking, Su Diao's life force seemed to have been sucked dry, and he slowly lowered his head. Ping glanced at Su Diao, his eyes filled with reluctance, but also a kind of relief. I originally thought that the 4 of us could do it without bothering you, but we still can't. You won't believe it, but this is a world-ending calamity. World-ending calamity. Yihua has never heard of such a thing before. This must be something that was made up, right? Conspiracy. Which person that doesn't want to live wants to take my life? Ping nodded. This is also a reincarnation from the beginning to the end, and then a new beginning will begin again. As guardians, we know that we can't go against the natural order, but we still can't bear to do so. However, all of this is futile. It's you all who are too weak. Yihua said once more. That's right, we are too weak, Yihua. You are the only one who can protect these countless worlds. We have already tried our best. Ping looked at Yihua fixedly, waiting for Yihua's answer. Yihua looked at Ping and frowned. After a long time, Yihua stretched out his hand and lightly stroked Ping's eyes. Standing up, Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and looked at the 4 people in front of him. The surrounding environment was undergoing a huge change. The warm wind turned into a bone-chilling wind, and everything instantly turned into a vast expanse of whiteness. The 4 of them were instantly frozen into ice sculptures. Right now, Yihua was finally able to feel an indescribable aura. This aura wasn't directed at him, but rather, it was directed at the ground beneath his feet, as if it wanted to tear this world apart. This reminded Yihua of Yi's plane. Back then, Yi's plane had also disintegrated like this. It was easy to destroy it, but it was hard to protect it. Sensing the might that was coming from the heavens' law, Yihua had no choice but to get serious. This doesn't seem to be a joke. What AF * king bullshit. Today was the children's wedding day. Can't we just have a day off? Should it be tomorrow? This powerful aura could not be sensed by ordinary people at all. It was as if the heavens were benevolent, allowing them to die instantly without any pain. In the Voidless Empire, Yi Yan and God Yi were preparing to pick up the bride. The 2 brothers were very happy. Even the cold God Yi was the same at that moment. Mom, where's Dad? Why isn't he here yet? Yi Yan couldn't help but ask. The auspicious hour was about to arrive, so why wasn't he here yet? Qinya said petulantly. I don't know where your dad went. I really have a headache holding on to him. Dong Huangli, who was at the side, said in a low voice, Let me go and look for him. Father might be reluctant to part with him. Sister, I'm not marrying you. Why would I be reluctant? Yi Yan teased, which was immediately met with a death stare. Donghuang Baiji said with melancholy, Ali, go and call Uncle Wei over to help us look for Yi Futian. This is such an important moment, yet you are still causing trouble. This is truly infuriating. Mom, maybe it's not what you think. Dad is doing something serious. Clearly, Qingye and the others didn't believe that Yi Hua would go and do something serious. After Dong Huangli went out to look for Yi Futian, everyone waited for quite a while. In the end, Qingye took a look at the time. Forget it, let's not wait anymore. The auspicious hour is already here, let's not delay anymore. You all, prepare yourselves and go pick up the bride. Mom will go and look for Yi Futian first. All right, Mom, don't quarrel with Dad, calm down. Yi Yan naturally had to remind them. No matter what, they can't quarrel with each other today. Looking at the children who went out to pick up the bride, Qingye and the others immediately organized people to go and look for Yi Hua. 1 hour later. Xiao Tian, you still haven't found Yi Futian? Qian Yuqing asked anxiously. Yi Juetian shook his head. Big brother doesn't seem to be in the palace. At this moment, a few more figures descended from the sky. They were Wei Chang and Lai Gu, and the two of them had a grave expression on their faces. What's wrong? You still haven't found Yi Futian? Qing Yutong was very anxious, and even her tone became rushed. Honorable Madam, please calm down, give us a bit more time. Wei Chang said respectfully. This time, His Honor actually concealed his aura, completely unable to sense His Honor's aura. This is something that has never happened before. Another 10+ figures descended from the sky, and Pig Liver Mane said gravely, Honorable Madam, His Honor doesn't seem to be in the Empire. How is that possible? Just now I even told him to hurry up and dress up. Donghuang Baiji wrinkled her brows in puzzlement. Even if Yi Hua likes to throw a tantrum, he wouldn't joke around with the marriage of the children. Could it be that His Honor is in danger? Brett said respectfully, Honorable Madam, His Honor's strength is outstanding. Nothing will definitely happen to him. This scoundrel. Just what is he trying to do? Qingye was very angry. If Yi Hua was right in front of me right now, I would definitely bite him to death and go missing today. I am obviously doing something important. Why are you nagging me so much? Just as everyone was hesitating, Yi Hua's voice rang out in everyone's mind. The voice carried a tone of teasing and relaxation. When Qingye and the others heard Yi Hua's voice, they finally felt at ease. You scoundrel, the children are already married. Where the hell did you go? Hurry up and come back. Donghuang Baiji immediately scolded out. If I don't scold you for a day, are you going to feel unnatural all over? However, when Wei Chang heard His Honor's tone, he felt that something was amiss. His Honor's tone rarely carries a tone of teasing or laughter. Baiji, actually, I like it the most when you are angry. You are especially cute. As expected, when Wei Chang said this, everyone felt that something was a bit strange. They didn't know what His Honor was doing. I have some matters to take care of today. I might not be able to come back. Yi Hua said once again. Just like an ordinary phone call, Yi Hua told his wife that he was going out for a drink tonight and wouldn't be coming back. Today is the children's big day. How can you not come back? Qingye couldn't help but question Yi Hua, and her eyes were already red. Yi Hua's voice paused for quite a while, then said slowly, Qingye, I'm afraid that I won't be able to participate in the wedding. I will be leaving for a period of time. Just what are you doing? Qingye's emotions immediately collapsed as she roared towards the sky. Yi Hua didn't reply. Instead, he shouted out faintly, Wei Chang. Subordinate is here. During the period of time that I am not here, properly assist Ali. Your Honor, subordinate. Your Honor, just what are you doing? If it was in the past, Wei Chang would definitely obey His Honor straightforwardly. However, right now he wasn't able to do it. Did you hear me clearly? Subordinate understands. Chapter 1392. Qian Yuqing's lips slightly trembled as she said in a low voice, Yi Hua, stop messing around, this is not fun. Qian Yuqing had already lost Yi Hua once, and that kind of heartache was enough to make one want to die. Qian Yuqing was completely unable to endure it a second time. Yi Hua didn't explain too much. As usual, he didn't like explaining things. Back then, I took pleasure in killing people, and in the end, what a great irony. I'm sorry, my family mother. Your son is going to be unfilial again. After finished speaking, Yihua's voice disappeared. No matter what, there was no reply. Of course, Le Jing heard it. She had already fainted. Daji also heard it. She was not in a hurry to be sad. She cried while taking care of Le Jing. Qingya and the others were already stupefied. And all of Qingya's subordinates were also stupefied. If they didn't know what Qingya meant before, then the last sentence that Qingya said couldn't be any more obvious. Mommy, I can't find Daddy at all. At this moment, Dong Huangli and Yi Lu ran over anxiously and said in distress. The children clearly didn't hear the conversation just now, and this was also done on purpose by Yihua. I feel that I am letting down the children too much. After being thrown out for more than 10 years, and just a few months after coming back, I am going to have to leave again. No one responded to Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli and Yi Lu saw that everyone's expressions were a bit strange, and even Dong Huangli's mother's expression was a bit distorted. A bad premonition rose in the hearts of the two children. Go look for it. Go look for it. No way. Everything will be fine. Brother-in-law is so awesome, how could something happen to him? Qing Yutong was about to go crazy, and she roared loudly, and her entire person seemed incomparably sinister. Right now, Yihua was able to imagine it, but what could he do about it? Initially, he didn't plan to use the final communication method, but in the end, he still couldn't hold himself back. Taking out a cigarette, Yihua slowly lit it up, and a self-mocking smile could be seen on the corner of his mouth. Perhaps he would be able to survive the destruction of the world, but just like what the fortune teller said, in a world without people, he would have to face endless loneliness. What would be the point of that? This time, I am protecting my family, that's right. Everything else was incidental. I am not a good person. I have never been. I am not a saint. After quite a while, Yihua raised his head and looked at the falling snow in the sky, then laughed lightly. The fine black hair at the back of her head suddenly turned into specks of starlight and floated in the air. Goodbye, my family and friends. Gradually, Yihua's entire body transformed into starlight, and that half of the cigarette was blown far away by the wind and snow. However, that dazzling starlight rushed towards the horizon and dispersed towards the countless plains. Yihua was using all of his strength to contain the world extermination calamity this time around. Although he did not know if it would be effective, this was the only way he could protect the lives of his entire family. At this moment, everyone was able to sense Yihua's aura. Yihua's aura was incomparably enormous, and yet, it was dissipating at a bizarre speed. No, heart-wrenching screams resounded in the palace. They couldn't believe that everyone's hearts had collapsed just like that. At that moment, Yi Yan and God Yi had already picked up their wives and were on their way back. The two of them sat on the white horse, sharing their experiences and chatting freely. They were talking about how they would be a father in the future. However, just a moment ago, the two of them who still had a joyous look on their faces suddenly felt that their father's aura was very huge. However, in just half a breath's time, his aura was gone. There was no time to think at all. This kind of dissipation was not that kind of concealment, but rather, Yi Yan and God Yi sat on the horse's back in a daze. Brother Yan, father's aura. Qiyu, who was sitting on the sedan behind, shouted out loudly. This shout instantly pulled Yi Yan back to reality. He immediately flew towards the palace, and God Yi, who was at the side, followed closely behind. The people on both sides of the street were confused. What is going on? Why did the groom run away? Why did he abandon the two brides? Big sister, what's wrong? Yi Yan looked at his big sister, who was sitting on the ground and leaning against the wall. Mom, what's wrong? Uncle Wei? What's going on with everyone? Where's Dad? Yi Yan asked everyone one by one. His face was sometimes tense, and sometimes he would squeeze out a smile. However, everyone's expression was the same. God Yi walked in front of Dong Huang Baiji and said gravely, Mom, Dad, Dong Huang Baiji looked at God Yi as if she was looking at Yihua. Dong Huang Baiji hugged her son tightly and cried out loudly. All of the women in the group were unable to accept this kind of ending and cried bitterly. In their hearts, Yihua was not only the boss, he was also the matchmaker, and also the big brother. He was always taking care of them. Yet right now he left just like that. How could they accept this? In the end, Wei Chong was a person that was entrusted to someone else. Other people can remain calm in their sorrow, but I can't. At the very least, I have to suppress my sorrow and organize everything properly. Madam, this matter still needs to be investigated. His honor has an undying body, there won't be any accidents. Wei Chong concluded that it wouldn't be that easy for his honor to leave. It must be said that Wei Chang's consolation was effective. In everyone's hearts, Yi Hua was an invincible person, and right now, they still cannot come to a conclusion. Investigate, we must definitely investigate this matter thoroughly. If he's alive, we must see him. Qingya slowly stood up, and her gaze became firm. Yi Hua won't die just like this, he still owes me too much, and I won't be able to repay him in this lifetime. Yes, madam. Wei Chong turned his head around and looked at everyone. Everyone right now, his honor's whereabouts are unknown. I hope that everyone will do your best to find his honor's whereabouts. Everyone's hearts gradually became firm as well. His honor won't die. Everyone disappeared from the spot and used their own methods to find his honor's whereabouts. Madam, if there's any news, I will immediately inform you. Wei Chong cupped his hands, then took a look at the children, then disappeared from the spot as well. Yi Yan powerlessly leaned against the wall. It was clearly my big day, but why is my father gone? Why is it like this? Brother Yan. God Yi. The two brides finally arrived. Sensing the dense sorrowful atmosphere, and adding on the aura that had disappeared from the scene earlier, Chiyu and Lu Xian were able to guess what happened. Chiyu walked to the front of Yi Yan, then lightly hugged onto Yi Yan and comforted him. However, Yi Yan couldn't take it anymore and started crying like a child. Mom, I will definitely find Dad and bring him back. Definitely. Dong Huangli said gravely. Although she didn't know how to find Dad, it was still better than sitting here foolishly. Big sister, I will go with you. Yi Lu's eyes were red. She didn't believe that her father would disappear just like this. Big sister, I will go with you. I will go as well. Yi Yan and God Yi naturally had to go as well. Even if they had to search for Dad for a few years, tens of years, or even hundreds of years, they still had to find Dad. You two stay at home and accompany Mom. We will go and look for Dad. Right now, Uncle Wei and the others have all gone out to look for Dad. The defense has weakened. Dong Huangli said gravely. Although Dong Huangli wasn't afraid, she still had to pay attention to those people who wanted to cause trouble. Chapter 1393. Yi Yan had already adjusted his state of mind, then said to Dong Huangli, Big sister, before, Dad said that he was going to pass the throne to you. Right now you have to stay in the Imperial Palace and accompany Mom. As for the matter of finding Dad, just leave it to the three of us, you can be at ease. We must find Father and bring him back. Sister, you should stay in the palace. God Yi said in a deep voice, then looked at his mother. They were no longer in the mood to manage the affairs of the palace. Dong Huangli took a look at her mother. Although I really want to go to the Imperial Palace, the Imperial Palace cannot be left unattended. Chuyu helped big sister well. Xian are you too? Chuyu and Lu Xian were also very sensible. They said that they could rest assured and go do their work. They were here for the family. It was fortunate for him to have a sensible wife. Mom, we'll definitely bring Dad back, Yi Yan said firmly to his mother. Qingya slowly raised her head and looked at her son. Yener, your father will be fine. Yes, Dad is so powerful, he will definitely be fine. He will be back tomorrow. Yi Yan and the others firmly believed that their father was somewhere right now. After the three children left, there were only a few women left. Right now, Qian Yuqing was currently on the verge of collapsing. Back then Yi Hua was also like this. He disappeared just like that, and he didn't give you any time to prepare your thoughts at all. She didn't expect that it would happen again. Which woman could suffer such a blow twice in a row? It was already impossible for the wedding to continue. Dong Huangli had to comfort her mother. And as for the other miscellaneous matters, she had to let Chuyu and Lu Xianer handle them. It was a strange feeling to cancel one's own wedding. However, the two girls had no experience in management, so of course they were unfamiliar with it. All the people who came to attend the wedding felt strange. Why did the bride cancel her own wedding? It seemed like something big must have happened in Voidless Empire. Otherwise, things wouldn't have turned out this way. That was what they thought, but no one dared to act rashly. They could only go home with their doubts. Long Outyin and Lord Jiu had already brought their families over to Voidless Empire. As for Qi Shuwen's death, it was also the result of his own actions. If he had been less jealous, this might not have happened. Look at how well-behaved Xian Ba was, staying in his own territory and not coming out. This was the highest realm of wretched development. Along with Yihua's disappearance, the entire imperial palace became lifeless. However, the outside world had no idea what was going on, and the people within Voidless Empire were still living their lives as usual. The world would not stop because of the death of a person. In the blink of an eye, it was Chinese New Year's Eve. In the past, Yihua had always been the one to host the event. But this time, all of the members of the group were present, and the only one who was missing was his honor. Was the banquet hall lively? No. The air was filled with sorrow. After a period of investigation, there was no news of his subordinates. Yihua could only guess that this matter was related to the Guardian. Furthermore, when the Guardian came to look for his honor must have definitely made a move. As for why there was no news of his honor, Yihua had no idea. His honor had become a mystery. However, in the hearts of the subordinates, his honor is a godlike existence, and he will not die. Perhaps his honor is recuperating somewhere, and thus he isn't able to appear in front of me. When his honor recovers from his injuries, his honor will appear in front of me. During these few months, Dong Huangli was the one who was in charge of the overall situation. Qinya and the others were in a daze every single day. If it wasn't for the determination in their hearts, they would have definitely gone crazy. At this moment, he could understand how Qian Yuqing felt at that time. The feeling of losing the love of one's life was not a good one. In his heart, he felt incomparably guilty. Those years, he was in a cold war with Yihua and ignored him. Now, even though he wanted to talk to Yihua was no longer around. As the saying goes, only when people are no longer around will we know how to cherish them. At this moment, Dong Huangli stood up and raised her wine cup. All of Dong Huangli's subordinates stood up and raised their wine cups. Everyone, you have worked hard during this period of time. Cheers. Dong Huangli had matured a lot. Without Yihua's existence, Dong Huangli seemed to have become an adult. Dong Huangli seemed to have become more mature, and the feeling of immaturity had disappeared. Dong Huangli did not disappoint Yihua. She managed Wushu Empire in an orderly manner, and of course Chuyu and Lu Xian's help was also part of this. It isn't hard to serve his honor. Dong Huangli's subordinates had discussed with Dong Huangli. After this year is over, they will go to another plane to look for his honor. This was no different from looking for a needle in a haystack. After all, there were countless planes, and it wasn't possible to find his honor in an instant. However, Dong Huangli's subordinates did not give up. Dong Huangli let out a sigh of relief, then waved her hand, and an image could be seen appearing on the screen behind her. Yihang and Zishan went into a slight daze. This is the scene of our wedding, and it is even being hosted by his honor. Everyone was able to see his honor's figure on the screen, and right now, everyone can only see his honor's figure on the screen. Thinking about the past, everyone felt uncomfortable in their hearts, and they really wanted to vent out their emotions. Looking at the women, tears had already appeared in their eyes. Qinya and the others were already sobbing uncontrollably. During last year's New Year, I was still together with Yihua, just that it wasn't very pleasant. Whenever I think about it, I would hate myself for treating Yihua like that. Now Yihua is gone. Yihua, are you taking revenge on me? Listening to Yihua's cold yet passionate voice, everyone felt as if they could see his honor standing on his seat, raising his wine cup, looking at everyone with a gentle gaze, and then praising a certain person. Just how glorious is that? As the screen changed, it was basically all scenes of his honor's subordinates being together. His honor started singing. Although his honor was tone-deaf, the subordinates were still cheering for him. Looking at this scene, all of the subordinates revealed a smile on their faces. However, this smile was filled with tears. In actuality, his honor is still a joker. Perhaps, only during this time of the year would his honor put down his arrogance and play around with his subordinates. After all, as the boss, he mustn't appear to be frivolous all the time. Yi Yan looked at his father's figure, and tears couldn't help but flow down from his eyes. It was said that men shed blood, but not tears. However, at this very moment, Yi Yan was unable to do so. Even if it was God Yi, he was unable to do so. However, it was precisely because of this that Yi Yan wanted to find his honor even more. To let this big family reunite. Without Yi Hua, this was an incomplete family. On the first day of Chinese New Year, the entire group of people spread out to search for his honor. This sort of search continued for year after year. However, everyone still didn't give up. 100 years passed by just like that, and there was still no news of his honor at all. There wasn't even a single person who looked similar to his honor. Yi Hua had disappeared for 1,000 years. Wushu Empire had already covered the entire northern region, and the scale of the empire was already hard to believe. However, all of this was because of Dong Huangli. In Dong Huangli's heart, if her father were to see this, he would definitely be proud of me and praise me. Big sister, what are you thinking about that made you so happy? Yi Yan asked with a light smile on his face. Right now, Yi Yan was already more than 1,000 years old, and he could be counted as an old man. Chapter 1394. However, today was another Lunar New Year's Eve. Based on previous year's custom, everyone would rush back for a reunion. Time could make people slowly calm down, but the subordinates still did not give up on searching for his honor. Even if they had to search for more than 10,000 years, they still had to find traces of his honor. However, right now was not the time for them to be sad. If they have the time to be sad, they might as well think about how to find his honor. Right now, Dong Huangli was wearing an empress gown, and she had the demeanor of Dong Huang Baiji. As expected of an empress's daughter, Dong Huangli was born to be an empress. Dong Huangli turned her head around and looked towards her little brother, then said with a smile, I was thinking about how father will praise me when he returns. You should be praising me, Yi Yan said with a teasing tone. Although the siblings were teasing, their tone was still very unnatural. Dong Huangli laughed lightly. You don't have to go out and look for Chiyu this year. You should properly accompany Chiyu. Chiyu has just given birth to a child, and she needs you to accompany her. For so many years, you have spent too little time accompanying her. Chiyu can understand me. Yi Yan stopped smiling and said plainly, which daughter doesn't wish to be accompanied by a man? Not to mention, the child has already been born. No matter what, he has to accompany the child for at least a month. It has been tough on him to manage such a huge voidless empire with me all these years. Without waiting for Yi Yan to speak, Dong Huangli spoke once again. I promised Chiyu that I will let you stay at home for at least a month. It's decided. It's the same for that kid, Gadi, Dong Huangli said in a low voice. Although it was very tiring for her to manage Wushu Empire, it was even more tiring for them to search for Wushu Empire outside. Yi Yan didn't say anything. Actually, he felt a little guilty. Back then, he didn't even get married before he went out to search for his father. He searched for so many years. Occasionally, he would come back to accompany his wife for a day before continuing his search. Basically, everyone was like that. Yi Yan looked up at the sky. It was already getting dark. Mom isn't back yet? Yi Yan asked in a low voice. That's right, Qingya and the others were also using their own methods to look for Yi Hua. Qingya and the others had been away for close to 100 years, and the only time they could gather together was during Lu Jing's birthday and Chinese New Year's Eve. Of course, the four of them didn't search for Yi Hua together. After all, the four of them and Yi Hua had their own feelings for each other, and they naturally had their own ways to search for Yi Hua. I don't know. If it was in the past, mother should have already returned, Dong Huangli said in a low voice. Dong Huangli felt that it was a bit strange. Sister, brother Yan. Just as the two of them were talking, Chiyu slowly walked over with her child in her arms. Perhaps the birth of a new life added a hint of joy to this gloomy atmosphere. The little boy in her arms was sleeping soundly, but his eyebrows were very much like Yi Yan's. After 1,000 years, Chiyu had become even more mature, and adding on the fact that she was managing such a big empire, her temperament had also become more dignified. Chiyu really resembles Yi back then. No, it should be Mengyao. Why are you here? Yi Yan looked at his wife walking over and smiled. Looking at his son in his arms, his heart was filled with joy. If his father was here, he would be a grandfather now. It was highly possible that he would bring his grandson to act cool. Everything is more or less ready, and the time is about to arrive as well. Only mother is not back yet. The mother that Chiyu was referring to was naturally Yi Yan's mother, Qingya. Only mom didn't come back? Yi Yan asked doubtfully. Could something have happened to her? Chiyu nodded. Baiji's mother said that she might be late. She seems to be very busy. Really? Yi Yan took a look at his big sister. Perhaps mother doesn't want to be disappointed. Every Chinese New Year's Eve, everyone would reminisce about father together. Brother Yan, how about you go and take a look at mother? Chiyu suggested. Yi Yan shook his head. It's useless, mother might have her own thoughts. If I go, it would only make mother miss father even more. Although Chiyu was his daughter-in-law, she didn't spend much time with her father. Naturally, their relationship wasn't that deep. I feel that after so many years, everyone seemed to still be living in the past. Reminiscing is naturally a good thing, but life still has to continue. In actuality, everyone understood in their hearts that father already. But father just doesn't want to admit this fact. Chiyu understood in her heart, and she also admired father a lot. After so many years have passed, everyone still hasn't given up on searching for father. This kind of willpower isn't something that ordinary people can have. Let's go to the banquet hall. It's about time. Dong Huangli looked at the sky and said softly. Inside the banquet hall, the people who were sitting inside were naturally all Dong Huangli's subordinates. Without Yi Hua around, there wasn't a lot of laughter. Lai Gu didn't cause any trouble anymore. Dou Fushi also stopped being a clown and became more mature. Everyone seemed to have grown up and were able to take charge of their own matters. Yutong, how is it this year? Dong Huang Baiji asked tenderly, and the smile on her face was a bit forced. According to the situation in the past, Qing Yutong would always be very carefree, but the current Qing Yutong didn't seem to be that childish anymore. It's all right, just that I didn't gain anything. Qian Yuqing said softly. Are we heading in the wrong direction? Perhaps it's just a matter of time. Why isn't Qingya here yet? She just told me that she's still busy, and I have no idea what she's busy with. Dong Huang Baiji said softly. Is there anything more important than right now? Perhaps big sister found some clues. Qing Yutong said faintly. Qian Yuqing held onto the teacup and slowly rotated it, then said softly. Big sister Qingya opened a bar. Perhaps she's waiting for Yi Hua, just like back then. But she has already waited for 100 years. Qing Yutong felt that this method of her big sister's wouldn't work. This is basically waiting for a fish to take the bait. Dong Huang Baiji laughed lightly. Perhaps she might have won the lottery, that's for sure. Everyone laughed lightly. This kind of probability might be even harder than winning 5 million. On a certain plain, in a desolate alley, there was a bar that wasn't big. The bar had 2 storefronts and 2 storefronts, and there was a second floor. Let's just call the bar Qing. Although it was inside a small alley, there was a very long line of people outside. Taking a look, all of them were men. I wonder if I will be able to see the lady boss today. If I am able to see her, I would even be willing to die. Within the line, a young man said with yearning. That's right, the lady boss is simply too beautiful. Last time, my friends secretly took a photo of the lady boss, and right now the entire bar is filled with the lady boss's photo. Who knows what the lady boss is doing at night? This is simply profaning our lady boss. If I am able to become the boss of this bar, I would simply be able to turn the heavens upside down. If it's me, hee, I have even thought of the name of my child. The group of men immediately looked towards that man, and the latter's face sunk. The latter consciously held onto his head and squatted down, welcoming the baptism of fists. I'll let you know what is called the sin of profaning. This kind of situation was already very common. Many of the people who came here for the first time were very curious. Just what kind of woman is she, to actually be able to have such power? However, all of them knew that if one came here to travel, this bar was a must-visit place. It could even be said to be a tourist attraction. However, inside the bar there was a group of men, and all of their gazes were placed on the staircase. It was as if that clear and majestic voice was ringing beside their ears. Of course, it was the sound that came from high heels. However, luck was also needed. If one's luck was good, they would be able to see it. Maybe those men who were sitting at the bar were lucky, and the sound of high heels really rang out. In the ears of the men, the sound was simply like the sound of nature. A pair of spotlessly white high heels could be seen appearing in front of everyone's eyes. All of the men held their breath. The lady boss has appeared. Today's luck is too good. She finally came down. Dressed in a plain white dress, it seemed so aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Her black hair hung down very naturally, forming a sharp contrast with the white dress. When that face appeared in front of everyone's eyes, all of the men's eyeballs were about to pop out. They completely didn't know how to describe it. It was simply as if she had turned on a beauty filter. No. This kind of saying is simply profaning the lady boss. This lady boss only exists in the sky, and she descended to the mortal world to experience life. Some of the outsiders, seeing the lady boss for the first time, were simply dumbstruck, and greed appeared in their eyes. Only this kind of woman is interesting. This lady boss was naturally Chinya. At this time, it was about time for the bar to close. There was still a gathering at home. Chinya swept a glance at the men that were present. Her gaze was very calm. She was already used to this kind of gaze. However, before Chinya announced the bar to close, a man who was drunk stood up. "Humph. Woman, you name your price." Chinya looked at this man, and didn't have any reaction. This kind of thing, as long as I go down the stairs, it will basically happen. Seeing that Chinya didn't speak, the man directly threw his car key on the table. "Follow me. This phantom is yours. There is also a 200 square meter riverview room. Your life in the future will be enjoyment." "No," Chinya said faintly. When the man heard this kind of reply, he was a bit surprised. "What? Did I give you too little?" "No, you are too ugly." Following Chinya's words, everyone burst into laughter. Although this nouveau riche wasn't handsome, at least his facial features were still considered neat. I'm telling you, you better be tactful. If not, I will make sure that this bar of yours cannot be opened anymore." The man's arrogant words caused the surrounding people to start whispering to each other. "Sigh, another one who is seeking death. That's right, I have already seen it quite a few times. Every time it was extremely awesome, but I still haven't seen this bar closed down. This lady boss isn't simple." "That's right." Chinya didn't want to pay attention to this nouveau riche and said faintly, "Dear customers, this bar is going to close for today." Although he was a bit disappointed, seeing the lady boss appear, it was also worth it. "I am not leaving. What can you do to me?" A few black-clothed burly men immediately walked out from the surrounding area, and directly carried the man up. Afterward, screams rang out from outside. Seems like the fall wasn't light. Chinya looked at the crowd leaving, then went to the bar counter and poured a cup of wine by herself. Her gaze was a bit blurry. In actuality, she was a bit blurry from the start, as if she was drunk. Because Chinya found a unique formula, when she was drunk, she would be able to see Yihua. If it was possible, Chinya wanted to be drunk every day. That way, she would be able to lie in Yihua's embrace every day, listen to his heartbeat, and look at that poker face. Although there wasn't any expression, she just liked it. Not knowing how long had passed, all the wine bottles were emptied. Suddenly, the waiter's voice rang out. "Mister, this bar is already closed." However, the other party didn't seem to reply, and heavy footsteps rang out from the door. This kind of footsteps made Chinya's eyebrows tighten. Slowly raising her head to look, a figure appeared in Chinya's line of sight. As the figure gradually got closer, Chinya's gaze revealed all kinds of emotions. The man sat on the high chair and said faintly, "Do you have wine?" "I have a lot of wine here. What kind do you want?" Chinya asked faintly. "The kind that can die." "What a coincidence, I indeed have this kind of wine here. It's called death." The man went into a daze for a moment. Looking at Chinya's face, He felt that it was very familiar and said faintly, "Give me a cup." "All right." The man took the wine that Chinya prepared and drank it in one gulp. In an instant, he felt as if his soul had left his body. That kind of feeling was as if he had obtained liberation. After a long time, the man woke up. "You drugged me." Chinya suddenly laughed tenderly. "If I drugged you, you would have already been carried onto the bed by me. You are different from other women." The man stared at Chinya and said gravely, "Naturally, looking at you, there seems to be a story. Just nice, I have wine here." Chinya laughed tenderly. This caused the surrounding waiters to be very astonished. Why would the lady boss talk to a man? But this man, he is really tasteful, so handsome, my God. I have never seen such a handsome man before. Seeing that Yihua didn't speak, Chinya persuaded, "Only by pouring your heart out will it be useful." After finished speaking, she thought in her heart, "Didn't you also talk to me like this back then?" "Lady boss, we will be going back first," the waiters at the side said respectfully. Chinya nodded her head, then looked towards the man. "Now that there is no one else, you can speak now." "Wait, let me guess first. Looking at your dressing, you are definitely born in a rich family. For you to seek death in the middle of the night, it is definitely not because of money. If this man did not do it because of money, then it must be because of a woman. I reckon that it must be a marriage between rich families, right?" After hearing that, the man stared fixedly at Chinya and said coldly, "You investigated me." "I have no interest in investigating you. We are all adults, you know what I want, I know what you want too, go upstairs." Chinya's words immediately caused the man to be dumbfounded, but he still said slowly, "I heard that the female boss here is very mysterious, but after seeing her today, she is also a person who covets after my appearance." Chinya was immediately speechless. This person needs to have one more attribute, narcissism, incomparably narcissism. "Mister, if you are not willing, the door is over there, just leave." Chinya had a look of not caring. "If you have the ability, just leave. How could I not know what you are thinking?" "Humph. I think I am also a person who likes to keep my chastity, but today, I will indulge myself. I will let you feel honored for once." Chinya rolled her eyes. "Let me feel honored for once. Why don't you go and die? I really want to strangle him to death." "You sure talk a lot of nonsense. If you want to come, then come." After finished speaking, Chinya walked up to the second floor. The man slowly stood up and followed after Chinya. If one observed carefully, the corner of the man's mouth had a trace of an arc. "The longest road that you all have walked is my routine. If you continue to be mischievous, I will just go missing. However, the feeling of coming back is really good. I overslept this time." Chapter 1395. Brothers, nice to meet you. Lulu, 3 horses and 4 pigs. An excited drunken voice rang out from a certain bedroom in the palace. Yi Hong and LV Liang could be seen drinking, and from their expressions, they seemed to be very excited. "Little brother, drink." "Big brother, drink." LV Liang wiped the corner of his mouth and appeared to be very excited. "Triplets, little brother, don't you think that's awesome?" Yi Hong gave a thumbs up and said excitedly, "Sister-in-law is indeed awesome." "Isn't that so? After so many years, my big brother Green finally has the guts." LV Liang looked towards the sky and let out a long sigh. "Something that I didn't even dare to hope for in the past actually came true. Big brother, congratulations, you are the last one to be born in the entire team." Yi Hong patted on Big Brother's shoulder. During that period of time, Big Brother was really worried. Everyone else has a child, but Big Brother is the only one who isn't pregnant. How can he be at ease? Fortunately, the pill that His Honor concocted is not bad. It is really a good prescription to treat infertility. I feel that it can be sold very well. Along with a creaking sound, the tightly closed door was pushed open. "Dad, I knew that you were drinking here. You still aren't going back. Mama's going to beat you to death." A chubby little brat looked at Yi Hong. His expression was very exaggerated, as if he was going to be implicated. "How did your mom know that I was drinking here?" Yi Hong hurriedly asked. A few years ago, Yi Hong and Zishan had their own child, and Zishan finally fulfilled her wish. Yi Hong was very happy, but Zishan, who had a child, seemed to have become a demon again, And now, she enjoyed torturing the father and son all day long. Look, the chubby child has lost a lot of weight, the little fatty said seriously. Mom said that she will let me off this time after I reported her. I knew that you, this brat, are unreliable. Ihong covered her face. This is a scam. Dad, good luck. I am going to play with Yi Xiao. You stinking brat. Don't lead Yi Xiao astray. Otherwise I will break your legs. The little fatty definitely didn't hear what Ihong said. Look at my son. Yi Yan has already looked for me to talk a few times. He is such an outstanding person in the end. Ihong was very vexed. LV Liang laughed loudly. Wasn't it you who said that you wanted to play with outstanding people? And in the end, that child Yi Xiao, haha. This Yi Xiao was not Yi Yan's son, but Yi Yan's grandson. The way Dong Huangli's subordinates addressed Dong Huangli had already become Dong Huangli. Are you drinking? A figure appeared at the door. It was a pig's head and a human's body. I was just worried that the atmosphere wasn't good enough. Come, let's go together. LV Lu's invitation was a warm one. Her subordinates had always been like this. There was no class discrimination, and they all respected each other. After all, like boss, like subordinates. The pig liver macaque sighed softly and sat down beside them. What's wrong? Why are you sighing? LV Liang asked curiously and poured a glass of wine for pig liver meat. The pig liver macaque didn't say anything and drank it in one gulp. Then, its gaze became especially firm. The thing I've been plotting for thousands of years is about to be implemented. The pig liver macaque stared at LV Liang and Ihong, and said with a tone of duty-bound, as if this matter had to be done. Although LV Liang and Ihong were a little drunk, they immediately understood what the pig liver macaque wanted to do. My wife is waiting for me to go back and give birth to my second child. Ihong muttered, then hurriedly left. That newborn child of mine hasn't changed his diaper yet. I have to go back and change it. LV Liang also hurriedly left. If she didn't leave, she might be captured and used as cannon fodder. The pig liver macaque didn't pay attention to her. Its gaze was deep as it muttered. I know that you are not happy. I will bring you far away. Outside. Big brother, why do you think brother pig is so obsessed with Dongfang Yu? I really don't understand. Ihong rubbed his chin and asked curiously. LV Liang slightly raised his head and looked towards the blue sky. This is the taste of first love, right? Making people unscrupulous. That's true, it has already been thousands of years, but he still wants to kidnap Dongfang Yu. Every day, causing absolute heaven city to strengthen the defense of the palace. Just as the two were chatting, a figure walked towards the two of them. Uncle Wei. The green and red brothers respectfully shouted. Wei Chong nodded his head, then quickly walked past, as if he had something urgent to do. Ihong mumbled. What is Uncle Wei in such a hurry to go? LV Liang said sneakily. I heard that Wei Ling caused trouble outside last night and got kidnapped by Kai Yun. It can't be, Wei Ling caused trouble outside again? Doesn't that mean that this Uncle Wei has a daughter at such an old age? And he dotes on her very much? On the other hand, Tang Wei seems to be very strict. The two men started gossiping about the interesting things that happened in the team. It's fortunate that my family's little fatty came out a few years later than me. If my family's age was the same, I would be able to play together with my family's little fatty. My God, just thinking about it is scary. Ihong felt that her family's little fatty was rather obedient. However, Wei Ling is still together with Yi Xian after causing so much trouble. LV Liang laughed lightly. Yi Xian was Godye's granddaughter, and her age was similar to Wei Ling's. Of course, their interests were the same, and so they simply hit it off. Adding on that, Wushu Empire covered the entire north. Who knows where Yi Xian went to play? The two chatted as they walked, and very soon, they arrived at the entrance of the bedroom. The green and red brothers' bedroom was right across from the bedroom, and they could be considered as neighbors. Just now, they were also secretly drinking wine, and running into the empty bedroom to avoid being discovered by their wives. It has already been many years since His Honor had any activities. I wonder when His Honor is going to cause trouble outside. LV Liang muttered. Seems like His Honor is a bit bored. If His Honor was here, he would have caused trouble long ago. Yi Hong said helplessly. His honor and his wives are all gone. Even if they are going on their honeymoon, they should be back by now, right? That is hard to say. Back then, your wives had been looking for his honor for so long. And now that they finally found each other, they are definitely going to be very loving. But I feel that it is definitely a trap. His honor has too many traps, and even Uncle Wei said that his honor did it on purpose. When it comes to picking up girls, we are not as arrogant as his honor. That's right. Sigh. The green and red brothers let out a sigh at the same time. Let's just go home and be henpecked. However, just as the two were about to close the door, their expressions tensed up. This is a call from his honor, and it is a meeting of all the members. Everyone must be present. Could it be that something happened? Following Dong Huangli's announcement, everyone rushed towards the Imperial Palace Hall. At this moment, other than Yi Hua and the four wives, everyone else was present, and there were even a lot of young faces among them. This was the fresh blood in the team, and this was also the situation that Yi Hua wanted to see. Yi Hua wanted the entire team to be passed down from generation to generation. Dong Huangli stood beside the throne. After experiencing the baptism of time, the current Dong Huangli felt that she was even stricter than her mother. It isn't easy for me to sit in this position. After all, I am the boss, and the boss has to have the dignity of a boss. Dong Huangli was able to experience her father's acting skills. Big sister, what happened? Did something happen? Did dad and mom fall out again? Yi Yan cried out in surprise. Lai Gu, who was at the side, patted onto Yi Yan's shoulder. It is impossible for them to fall out. I reckon that it is possible for them to give you a younger brother or sister. Following what Lai Gu said, all of Yi Yan's subordinates laughed lightly. Honestly speaking, it is indeed possible. Alright everyone, quiet down for a bit. Dad just sent news over, and it is very important news. I hope that everyone will treat it seriously. Dong Huangli said gravely. Towards a serious topic, everyone would treat it seriously, unless they really couldn't hold back their laughter. Your Honor, please speak. We will be willing to sacrifice our lives for you. Wei Chang shouted out respectfully. Right now he really knows how to speak. Dong Huangli said gravely. Last time, Dad saved all of the planes and ended up in a coma for 1,000 years. Before Dong Huangli could finish speaking, Yi Yan muttered, I did it to save my family, the others were just doing it on the side. Ha 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 ha. Although Yi Yan had received professional training, he still couldn't help but laugh out loud. This joke can be said for an entire lifetime. And even Dong Huangli couldn't help but laugh out loud. Yi Yan, you shut up. Dong Huangli glared at her brother. What are you fooling around for? Your son is still here. If the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. Yi Yan didn't speak anymore. There are simply too many jokes about Dad, and it is impossible for me to finish talking about them in a short amount of time. Dad said that although he saved all of the planes and avoided reincarnation, but... Dong Huangli paused for a moment, then swept her gaze across everyone. The atmosphere became a bit stiff. However, a new cycle has begun. Zhu Tian's brows wrinkled as he said gravely, Your Honor, although His Honor stopped the cycle of reincarnation, he didn't stop the other starting point from starting, right? That's right. We have millions of worlds here, and there are also worlds over there. Judging from Dad's tone, it might be a higher level world. Do Fusher, what do you think? Do Fusher's mouth twitched. He wouldn't be able to avoid this for the rest of his life. This had already become a tradition. Your Honor, I feel that this is just like a program upgrade. What we have here is the ordinary version, and after going through trial and error, we developed a more perfect version. Do Fusher was about to admire himself. He could even make up nonsense to be so awesome. Drifting Soul, who was at the side, had a look of worship on his face. His words were as if they were the truth. Dong Huangli nodded her head. That's about it. Damn, I actually got it right. Yi Zizi asked lightly. Your Honor, then what does Your Honor mean by that? Dong Huangli's gaze turned cold, then said in a low voice. What Daddy means is as long as there is one, it will be fine. F***ck me. Hearing what His Honor said, everyone's blood seemed to have started boiling. His Honor is indeed formidable. Even though he isn't here, he is still able to act so pretentiously. However, before that, we need to have a complete set of information. After all, this is the first time that I, the Supreme Overlord, am leading a team. Dong Huangli attached great importance to this mission. This mission was very arduous, but it was also very challenging. Yes. Subordinate will definitely do my best to cooperate with your honor, and strive to complete this mission as soon as possible. Everyone disperse. Yes. After everyone left, Dong Huangli let out a breath. If it was possible, I really don't want to sit on this seat. Sis, what's wrong? Seeing that Yi Lu was walking very slowly, Dong Huangli asked curiously. Yi Lu turned her head around and looked at her big sister with a slightly embarrassed look on her face. It can't be you found a boyfriend? Dong Huangli cried out in surprise, then walked to the front of Yi Lu. Dong Huangli was so excited that it seemed as if she had found a boyfriend. Big sister, it's nothing. I just have a bit of a favorable impression of him, that's all. Yi Lu slightly lowered her head, revealing the appearance of a little girl. With a single look, Dong Huangli knew that her little sister had already fallen for Yi Lu. Where is that person from? Let big sister help you check on him. Big sister, don't talk about me. Mom and Dad said that they want us to find a boyfriend within 100 years. Now that I have a target, you have to hurry up as well. Dong Huangli rolled her eyes and said, You are just as long-winded as Mom and Dad. Now that this mission is here, how can big sister have the mood to talk about the relationship between a man and a woman? Big sister, this kind of marriage is very mystical. You stay in the palace every day, and the people that you see are always us. How can there be any accidents? Just now, didn't you say that you were going to spy on us? Big sister, you should take this opportunity to go out and have a walk. Dong Huangli looked at Yi Lu with a strange expression. As expected of my good little sister. I was just joking, after all, you have to stay at the headquarters. Dong Huangli looked at her little sister and Yi Lu couldn't help but take a few steps back. Big sister, what are you trying to do? Lure, help big sister out. Whether or not you will have a brother-in-law in the future will depend on this. If you don't help me out, I will make my brother-in-law disappear. Big sister, good little sister, help big sister out this time. Big sister is going to be bored to death in the palace. Dong Huangli held on to Yi Lu's small hand and pouted her small mouth while acting cute. Yi Lu sneered. Alright big sister, I really can't stand you acting like this, what should I do? You just have to pretend to be me. At most, it will only be for 1 month. It won't be too long. Really 1 month? Of course, why would I lie to you, little sister? Look at big sister. Do I look like someone who would lie? Yi Lu expressed her doubt. In our Yi family, lying is one of our basic skills. Look at how my dad is able to bluff my mom to the point that she is completely confused and disoriented. Smart, this is really smart. And you're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.